The Thursday Walkthrough is brought to you by Carle and the University of Illinois Credit Union.
Welcome back to the Thursday Walkthrough. Martin O'Donnell, joined as always by Coach Lovie Smith. And, Coach, looking forward to this game against Northwestern. What are the points of emphasis as you come into a rivalry game, especially one, against an opponent like Northwestern that's having a good year?
Well, there's a few things. First off, when you get to rivalry week and everybody, no matter what level of play you're in sports, there's someone that you need to beat. And of course, it's a team up north for us. And there's a lot of emotions that comes along with that. But what it gets to eventually is you're out on the football field and what I've seen a lot of times is teams beat themselves. And I'm going to go to the turnover ratio, just ball security on one side. Those are the kind of things when emotions are so high that can really, put momentum in a different direction. It's been so long since when the opponent has a winning streak, the way, they have here, you just can't wait to play as much as anything, and that's exactly where we are.
Well, and Coach, looking back last week against the Iowa Hawkeyes, things start out really well in the first quarter. Get up 14-0. What are the learning points there for your team in terms of taking the next step and being able to really finish a game like that?
As you build in your program, you just look at steps that you're taking along the way. The last time they were down here, going into half, they had a 35-point lead. So, we had a 1-point lead this time. So we're gaining on them as much as anything. As a coach, you always talk about starting fast and finishing strong. And we started fast, but the finish strong part is the next step for our program. We had opportunities. We lost momentum there. And next time we're in this position, we can't let that happen.
Well, and Coach, one thing that I thought was interesting, in the game last week, and we asked you about it immediately after the game, but maybe touch on having Caleb Griffin return punts. Some of that was obviously guys being injured, but, how much of that also speaks to his versatility as a player?
Well, a lot of it speaks to just who Caleb is. Very good high school, starter on his high school basketball playoff team. He can do it all, can throw the ball, and we've been able to see that in practice. And he's continued to catch the ball in practice. So we knew he has about as good hands as anyone around catching. And when you're a specialist, you're always involved in that part of the game as you go through. But a little of that was also based on injuries too. Kyron Comby was not available. James Frenchie had a minor injury last week that didn't allow him to do it. Hopefully this week we'll be able to have more guys available. We'll see. I thought Caleb did a good job of what we asked him to do.
Well, and Coach, you mentioned a little bit ago continuing to build and grow the program, and certainly one aspect of that is recruiting and the early signing period coming up in the next week or so. What are your thoughts, again, just kind of on the ability for recruits to sign early in December instead of waiting towards February, and how do you think this year's class is starting to shape up?
Well, we like the way the class is shaping up, but it's been totally different. Just recruiting in general. We're going to sign some players that haven't been on campus, some players that I haven't had a chance to just talk with directly. That part is different. But as we continue to build our program, that's the new normal as far as recruiting is concerned. We're looking forward to our class that we are going to sign. It's still about, bringing in good young players to fit into our system. That'll be a special time for us. The best way, of course, to get it off is get a win this week, and next Wednesday, sign some good players here.
Well, and Coach, you mentioned, specifically talking about the recruiting process there and how it's been, different and unique this year. But, obviously also, COVID and the pandemic has caused us all to change the way we work on a day-to-day basis. Asking you the question of, Lovie Smith, the manager, you're managing people, managing a staff, and really having the team, as your responsibility as well. What are some things that you've learned about yourself as a manager here throughout this process? And, what are some things that you've kind of added that you think will stick around?
Well, a lot of the things, it's just technology in general. We've advanced so much, and so much had been out there available for us that we weren't using. And that's what I found out. When there was a period of time when we couldn't get to assemble together, and we've had times like that throughout the football season where we couldn't get together as a group as a team, to have a team meeting. Well, we found that through virtual communication, you can do everything. And so now there are different ways for us to communicate and actually be able to hold conversations with guys, teach players. We'll continue to do that. A lot of our meetings will continue to be virtual. You don't have to be together always to do it. But at the same time, there's nothing like hands-on communication, teaching, and that part will never be thrown out of the window.
Well, Coach, one last question here. Obviously, seems to still somewhat being formed, but, not exactly sure who the opponent is after Northwestern. Obviously it should be a team from the East, and that all still has to be settled. What's it like not knowing who you're going to play in a little over a week? And, kind of what does the behind-the-scenes process look like in terms of scouting?
Well, I think that's the beauty of where we are. If you're a college player, most guys have played high school football. In high school football, you go through a season, you don't know who your opponent will be. And that's kind of where we are right now, except for we have an idea. We know that we're going to be playing a Big Ten opponent, maybe someone we've already played. But throughout this pandemic, we looked at all teams in the Big Ten Conference, and I think everybody prepared that way because at most of the year, we didn't know exactly who we would be playing. So we'll be ready for anybody that we play that last game, like I assume most other teams will be. And that's the exciting part about championship weekend after we play our rival.
Well, Coach, thank you very much for your time, and thank you for stopping by the Thursday Walkthrough.
The Thursday Walkthrough is brought to you by Carle and the University of Illinois Credit Union. University of Illinois Credit Union, for campus and community.
Let us get to know you like we know this community, from football fields to cornfields. If you share the community spirit, come see why you and I belong together. U of I Community Credit Union, for campus and community.